G'day everybody, welcome back to our third presentation. This one's on harvest logistics and storage, and hopefully by now pretty much most of you guys have finished seeding into a moist seed bed. Most of you guys would have, but obviously now fingers crossed for some follow-up rain and to really kick things along for the 2021 season. This is an important topic. I've done a lot of research with local growers and also local suppliers, so hopefully you enjoy it. So a few months ago we just did a pretty informal Twitter poll just to see everyone's views around what kicks them into gear the best during harvest and to try and move as much grain from the paddock to the site, Ports Lock or our port at Lucky Bay, in the most efficient manner whilst keeping the header moving. So you can see here that silo bags 27% out of 214 votes. Guys that really want to ramp up their harvest efficiency will look to silo bags, use a carrier more often at 35%, and obviously more mobile bins. So relatively the same, no massive surprises there, but the standout at using a carrier more often, and it's certainly our intention to supply as many trucks as we can to you guys come harvest, and really talk to me, give me feedback on that possibility. We're working really hard with the Eyre Peninsula Freight Group at the moment as we speak to get a lot of trucks on the Eyre Peninsula come harvest. So there's never been a better time for Eyre Peninsula grain growers to invest in on-farm storage. We've created competition in the marketplace. There's tax incentives from the federal government for on-farm assets and purchases like silos and fill bins or bag machinery, etc., or truck upgrades. You've got volatility in grain prices, as we've seen from November 19 to April 20, about $100 a tonne there or more in some cases. So that gives you a lot of opportunity to pay back quickly your asset that you've just put on farm. Ports receivable fee discounts post-February, that's another incentive there. And there's overseas tension obviously with tariffs, etc. It just creates more opportunity for you guys, and to grasp that opportunity you need the asset on farm to allow you to switch it on, switch it off when the need arises. And there's more options and competition and local freight companies at the moment vying for your product better than ever before on the Eyre Peninsula. So using carriers, they come up at 35%. The Eyre Peninsula Freight Group has the ability to increase their fleet by 30 or 40 trucks easily enough in the coming harvest, which generally is the case with a lot of the members anyway, getting in subbies that they know and helping them out through the harvest period. And if a carrier costs you an extra $5 or $10 a tonne compared to your own truck, perhaps weigh that up against the cost of putting grain in a silo bag, which is pretty much $10 a tonne in any case. So remember just to do your numbers and choose what best suits your business at the time. The general carrier rate will be around that $10, $10.50 to load, and then $1 for every 10 kilometres thereafter. Talk about contracts with your carriers. Contracts really help both parties budget and plan. So, from a carrier perspective and a grower producer perspective, the goal is the same, to get as many tonnes out the paddock as possible during the harvest period. And with contracts and plans in place, that's the best way to do it. Talk about insurance. Some guys have probably got $500,000, $1 million or $2 million worth of grain involved with being carted from their paddock to the port. So just make sure everything's insured, tick the box, and make sure everything's fine with that relationship. Silo bags. Silo bags are getting more and more popular every year on the Eyre Peninsula. You're looking at about $800 or thereabouts for a silo bag itself, 25 grand for a bag loader, 40,000 for a bag unloader. And if you haven't got an unload, it's about $3 a tonne to hire or $10 a metre thereabouts to unload that silo bag. They're a really good short-term option. Generally for that 1 to 5 month period, So it suits us really well, you know, for you to put that grain in the silo bag and deliver it in February, March easily enough. You've got a fantastic local supplier there at Kimber, Troy and Bob at EP Ag and Fert. They've been supplying bags and machinery right across the peninsula for years now. There's probably at least 20 units on the peninsula, so they're professionals at what they're doing. They know exactly how to operate the machines and get the best out of them, so use your local provider to get that information and training if you were to purchase a machine. There's more information on all of the silo bag operations and on-farm storage on storegrain.com.au. It's a fantastic website. It's got some input there from GRDC and the Condinin Group, etc. And Ben White's a master at all of this stuff, so be sure to rack Ben's brains and get on and do some research on that website as well. So just some quick figures with a silo bag. Purchase a loader and unload and put 5 bags down every year for 5 years, and you're looking at about $9.81 a tonne. 10 bags per year for 10 years, and you're back down to $6.85 a tonne. So it's just an approximate figure to get you thinking about the actual costs involved with putting down some bags. This is a more commonplace mobile or portable paddock bins. They're a cheap and easy option to give you instant surge capacity in the paddock. There's some really good options out there at the moment. Local suppliers make these bins very simply. You've got, you know, Ely Engineers and Stringer Engineering at Warramboo, Arns, who've got their agents over here and a depot at Cleve, Leonard Engineering up there at Kimber, and there's also some DIY kits that you can get from Interstate. As you can see here, they're DIY kits there. So you're looking at 240 tonnes of storage for $48,000 here. That's cheap, it's efficient. There's no roof on them, so a little bit of weather risk. But at the end of the day, for moisture and protein screenings blending in the paddock, that's a really good option. Obviously, then you've got the deer options with your PDO bins and the like here for around $25,000 for a PDO bin with a roof on it. Again, can be sourced locally and most commonplace across the peninsula. This one's a bit different. Not too many people have heard about this. It's called the Unstacker. It's from Mick Fells in Esperance from iPaddock, and it just takes some time to do a bit of research on this, guys. It's interesting. It's a very efficient process from a labour input perspective. 50 grand for the machine to unstack the grain into a truck during or after harvest. And basically there's no other costs except some wastage. So there are some quality risks with wastage, but it's minimal. Mick seems to think around 1%, which at $300 a tonne is $3 a tonne, even if it's 2% at $6 a tonne. So there's some fine tuning and training that needs to go on with that if you were to purchase it, but they actually are a pretty good option to look at amongst the other options of bags and bins as well. So do some research on that one. So just some photos here of the unstacker. You see how Mick basically unloads it straight into a surge bin, tubulator with no head on it, and starts creating the heap, and then basically lets the grain build up to the axles on the auger, and then pulls that back to create your length in your stack. Unloading ability is about 250 tonne an hour. It's reasonably efficient and a simple process with a one-man operation, one-person operation. This is different again. These are permanent on-farm storage, so unlike the others, they're not portable. So generally these types of bins are fixed in place next to the homestead or the home block to a degree in a centralised location. So their throughput won't be as much as a portable bin in the paddock. Quality is the king here, guys. When you're purchasing permanent storage, they really need to comply with Australian standards 2628. Got to be fumigated and sealed successfully and pass their pressure testing. And these silos here, you know, there's 650 tonnes of storage for $132,000. They're 130 tonne capacity. So if you look at, for example, just price difference alone in the last 6 months, you know, could have paid off 50% of that cost straight up with the price difference between November and April. Again, we've got some really good permanent storage here. This is a local example again. So aerated, fumigatable, fully sealed, pressure tests, ladders, really good ladders, safe ladders to Australian standards, good outloading capacity with a tube. These are 70-tonne silos, so around that $17,500 landed with concrete and earthworks, and the 130 tonners around about that 26.5 landed. Teaports are actually putting together a fantastic a booklet, if you like, information guide on on-farm storage and pricing and supplies. So please be sure to look on our website in the coming weeks to grab that. And I'll have some handouts as well, but I've spent the last 2 or 3 months really trying to get a bit of an education piece together for growers to give them that first step in guidance on where they want to channel their, I guess, their efficiencies come this harvest and next harvest. Sheds are good, a lot more expensive obviously, you know, $300,000 to $400,000 depending on the option. Large sheds offer a lot more flexibility to store other commodities and equipment over the 12-month period. So, you know, it's obviously fertiliser during seeding and equipment. Fertiliser won't take up too much space. Equipment, and then come harvest, it's grain storage and some blending opportunities there. Chuck a couple of 1,000 tonnes through it and create those efficiencies with using your own truck to port. Or delivery in February. They can't be fumigated successfully. You might be able to get a fumigation in there, but very difficult to fumigate a shed indeed. So probably pole storage and cereal storage during harvest for blending, pole storage afterwards in readiness for fumigation and delivery. They're not sealed, so obviously there's a risk there for mice, rats, cats, foxes, etc. to get in the shed. They love playing around in grain, so be careful to put a monitoring plan in place and make sure the quality program is up to spec on farm. So some take-home points, guys. On-farm storage is really, it needs to be dovetailed to every different grower's business plan. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach or solution. And if a grower invested 130 grand into, you know, 650 tonnes of storage in those 5 130 tonne bins last year, put November's grain, December's grain in it and sold in April, could have made $100 a tonne straight up. Now, that's opportunistic. Those scenarios aren't there every year, but you've got to be in it to win it. You've got to have that asset on farm and use it commonly throughout every year. And then really push through to get those efficiencies and opportunities with the market. There's never been a better time to invest in on-farm storage on the Eyre Peninsula. Like I said, everything's changed, new supply chains, grower ownership in a port, tax incentives from federal governments. You're really well placed to make a really good decision this year. And please look at our storage calculator. That's on our website, and there's a bit on the website about that as well. So that's it for this presentation, guys. We'll just have a quick look at the storage calculator that Teaports has put together to help you out with, and it goes through the costs, etc., on a per tonne basis on what we've just spoken about with those different types of infrastructure. Okay, so here we have a on-farm storage calculator. Quite simply, what you'll see is the difference with the different types of infrastructure and storage that we've just talked about. Paddock unstacker costs 50 grand, on costs of about $4.50 a tonne with maintenance, cleaning and wastage. Say you put 4,500 tonne through the unstacker, obviously it's only cycled once, it's one stack. Per year for 10 years is 22,500 tonnes. For 5 years it'll cost you $6.72 a tonne. 10 years, $5.61 a tonne. Silo bags, if you were to buy the loader and unloader at $65,000, put down 10 bags every year for 5 years, $9.81 a tonne. if you'd have put down 10 bags a year for 10 years, which is 22,000 tonnes over 10 years, it's $6.85 a tonne. The open top bin, as you'll see here, you can actually select the number of tonnes you want to put through that bin, which might be 385 for 7 cycles through harvest, which obviously it's going to be a lot more than that. So you can actually click on, you know, you might end up putting 13 and you might end up putting, you know, say 1,100 tonne through one bin over the harvest period. That's 20 cycles. Harvest goes for about 40-45 days, so that's a cycle every couple of days, which is about right. So you put 5,500 tonne through that bin over the 5-year period, $2.46, and over 10 years, $1.28. So very cheap and effective for what we need as far as increasing our harvest paddock surge capacity. Permanent silos, similar. Sheds here at $290,000 a pop-ish. If you want to cycle 2,500 tonne through, you know, 2 lots of 1,250 tonne, you're back to that $23.70 or $12.10 over 10 years, bearing in mind that it's got other purposes for use as far as, you know, housing equipment as well. Mother bin was quite interesting. So you'll see here a mother bin at $120,000 for 110 tonne capacity mother bin, bit of cleaning and maintenance, but pretty easy to do that. Cycle through 4,510 tonne through that mother bin, which generally most of your harvest paddock grain will be cycled through the mother bin and then onto the truck. So for a farmer that's probably pushing 5,000 or 6,000 tonne, they'll cycle through about 4,500 tonne through their mother bin. 41 cycles, $5.42 a tonne over 5 years and $2.76 a tonne over 10 years. So hopefully that gives you some sort of a idea on a per tonne basis on what this infrastructure costs. Marry that up with the presentation and hopefully it'll help you out going through your plans for Harvest 2020. Next presentation is on harvest freight rates and freight logistics out of the paddock to port or to site. Really looking forward to talking to you on that one. In the meantime, keep sowing into some nice wet soil.